It's really hard to understate the impact the Dragon Ball franchise has had on the world at large, to the point that world leaders of multiple countries released public statements mourning the passing of Akira Toriyama in March of 2024. If you haven't watched it yet and want to avoid spoilers, then don't worry. This video will only be giving my general thoughts on the series and discuss what was revealed in the trailer and first episode without getting too spoilery. So yes, I will talk a teeny tiny bit about the plot, but only enough to give a little understanding to what was shown in the trailers. Before we get started, please consider leaving a like so that I know this sparks joy, and also consider subscribing if you want more videos like this in the future, or to join in on live streams which happen on this channel. First things first, I want to talk about the final public statement Toriyama made regarding Dragon Ball. It was announced that Akira Toriyama was to win the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Tokyo Anime Award Festival 2024, and he was going to be presented with said award at some point during the festival between March 8th and 11th, 2024. Sadly, Toriyama passed away on March 1st, 2024, and a public announcement was made on that March 8th, 2024. During the award festival, a pamphlet was handed out and included a statement from Toriyama accepting the award. To be honest, I never had much interest in anime, and even when my work was made into animated format, I feel embarrassed to admit that I did not watch much of it. Apologies to the staff. About 10 years ago, out of the blue, I was asked to revise the script for the Dragon Ball animated film, and I drew some simple designs for the characters and backgrounds. I thought I can leave the difficult part to the staff. Thus, it's truly embarrassing that I am the recipient of the Tokyo Anime Awards Festival Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you very much. One of my most unforgettable moments in animation works is when I met the late animator Toyo Ashida for an anime project called Kosuke-sama Rikimaru-sama, which was produced for this Shonen Jump original. This project didn't have a manga, so a meeting was held. He was an amiable person, and we quickly bonded. And every time I saw his drawing style, I was moved by his careful and swift touch. I thought, alright, I guess I... Or, I thought, alright, I guess this kind of touch I need to speed up the drawing process and make Dragon Ball look much smoother. The drawing time was reduced to about 2/3 of what it used to be. We influenced each other in many ways, and I think it was a truly fulfilling time. I pray for the repose of Ashida-san's soul. Dragon Ball Daima, which will be rolled out in 2024, was originally planned to be an original anime series without me, but as I gave advice here and there, I ended up getting deeply involved with the project without realizing it. I was not only involved in the original storyline, but also in the worldview, the character design, mecha, and other aspects. I hope you enjoy watching the series, which I believe is not only intense and action-packed, but also full of plenty of substance. Finally, I would like to thank everyone who has supported me so far. I am not sure how much more I can do, as I'm not very confident about my health, probably due to my lifestyle when I was younger, but I will try my best to create more interesting pieces of work, so please, continue to support me. With Daima being the last part of Dragon Ball we know he worked on, I was excited yet worried about the show itself. Super had issues that had me concerned over Daima, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Putting my worries aside, I hit play on the first episode and was hooked. What better way to start talking about a new show than to start with the opening? The instrumentals were composed by Grammy Award winning DJ slash producer Zed, who I'm hearing was quite the vocal fan of Dragon Ball prior to working on Daima's opening. Knowing that Zed was a fan of the franchise, I can't imagine the pressure he was under to live up to Cha-La, head Cha-La. Though I'm sure some of that pressure was alleviated when Yuki Nojo Mori, the lyricist for Cha-La, joined the team to compose the lyrics. The final piece of the puzzle was bringing in the J-pop duo C and K to perform the vocals. Altogether, I think it's fair to say they knocked it out of the park with Jaka-Jan. It has such an upbeat and wondrous feeling to it that I get spine tingles every time the opening plays. Hell, I even added it to my regular playlist of music for when I'm working. I do also have Cha-La and Dan Dan Kokoro Hikara Teku, that's the Japanese GT opening for those that don't know, on there. But currently, I play Jaka-Jan more than the others. That could be the honeymoon period, given that I am writing this shortly after watching episode 12, which just had been released in Japan. The visuals that accompany Jaka-Jan are what you would expect from an anime opening. High quality art and animation, sneak peeks of what's to come, and to give you an overall vibe of the show. I have heard that some of the opening and ending visuals were redone after Toriyama's passing to give the original creator a visual nod. And the inclusion of all the bird and white feather imagery leads me to believe this is true. With many of our favorite shows, Dragon Ball Z included, there is a trend where the highest quality visuals of an episode are in the opening. And that was especially true in the 90s. Dragon Ball Z certainly had some amazing scenes and episodes depending on the studio producing the given episode. However, with Daima, every single episode I've seen so far has had its visuals on par with the intro, and some have better visuals. One of the many issues with Super was the production schedule, which becomes quite apparent when you watch the original release. I may not be a professional animator, but even I know that they needed more time to cook. Thankfully, with Daima, the artists were clearly given the time they needed to bring this story to life. I was going to include a section on the music of the show so far, but as I sat down to write, I realized I'm not the best person to be talking about that subject specifically. Without re-watching all of the current episodes, the most I have to say about the music is I don't recall any scene in particular where the music felt out of place or lackluster. I feel that I am far more equipped to talk about the story of Daima. Now, with all that discussed, let's move on to the story. As I said before, I'm not going to be getting into spoilers, but I will be talking about the inciting incident that kicks off the adventure in the demon realm. Okay, I want my hand tracking for this part. Daima takes place 1 year after Daima takes place 1 year after Stop it. Daima takes place 1 year after the events of the Buu saga and 3 years before the events of Battle of Gods. So we're not going to be getting into any God Key or super shenanigans. However, there are lore drops throughout the first 12 episodes at least that make Daima feel like a natural progression after Boo and prepares someone who hasn't seen Super before with an idea of where things go after the adventure in the Demon Realm. I've talked with some friends about Daima that haven't started watching it yet, and there was a very common question.
Why are they kids?
A lot of what I'm about to explain happens within the first episode, and I'm leaving a lot on the table because I really want people to go into Daima with as fresh a mind as possible. And I'm personally extremely glad that I decided to just keep up with this sub and avoid spoilers because this series has had some discoveries that just fill me with joy. No, don't zoom in. No, don't zoom out too far. Okay, there.
Okay, but why are they kids though?
An insecure demon clown made a wish on the Dragon Balls to turn Goku and all his friends into children. The funny thing is, if that silly little guy didn't make that wish, Goku and his friends would have no reason to go to the demon realm. If you haven't watched Z in a long while and are worried about forgetting important details, then don't feel the need to go all the way through Z just to get caught up. The first episode of Daima is a recap of relevant points of Z with brand new animation and ties the recap into the story in a simple and brilliant way. Right now, I can only judge the story based on the first 12 episodes. The first bunch of episodes are a slower burn, but that plays well into the adventure feeling the series was going for. I've seen a lot of fans liken Daima to RPG adventures like Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger. And I totally see it, especially because Toriyama did do the character designs for those games. For the final project that Toriyama worked on, it really feels like early Dragon Ball in a way. Goku is a kid and we're exploring this new world with him. I mean, how can it not feel like early Dragon Ball? Alright, Super Saiyan. One regular complaint I've seen of Daima is that it has been lacking flashy fights, which I would understand if you were going into Daima expecting it to be only about the fights. Given that Goku was aged up for his fight with Piccolo Jr. because Toriyama wanted to shift towards a more Fighto focused manga, and Goku's smaller body did not lend itself well to detailing attacks. I was already aware of that when Daima was announced, and we were shown them being turned into kids, so immediately my mind figured we were focusing more on exploring the world than hype ass glowing fights. Don't get me wrong, I love those hype ass glowing fights. But I also really love the world of Dragon Ball, and I want to get every little morsel of lore I can get my hands on. So, Daima being about exploring the world had me very excited. And oh my god, did they flesh out the lore of Dragon Ball with just these first 12 episodes. And don't worry, there are some hype ass glowing fights in the first 12 episodes of Daima, just not many. If you're on the fence about watching Daima and have enough fondness of the franchise to watch a stranger on the internet yap about it, I highly encourage you to check it out. There have been so many lore drops sprinkled so far that I already consider it required watching if you are wanting to go through the full story of Goku and his friends. Daima is considered by some fans as the last true canon of Dragon Ball, since the Super manga will be continued by Toyotaro, the successor of Dragon Ball named by Akira Toriyama himself. While I am personally going to consider Toyotaro's work to be canon, I'm focusing on Daima for now. If the story keeps on its trajectory and the visual quality remains, I think it's safe to say that Daima could unironically be peak Dragon Ball. Oh hey, you made it to the end of the video. This is the part where I ask you to like it again and subscribe. Please subscribe. This is also the point where I thank the beeps of my channel who have joined it as a membership. Every membership helps me get better VR stuff going, better tracking, makes the video qualities better, and you get to see your name up there. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch the next one. And remember, if you can't be the sharpest tool in the shed, you can always be the hoe.